What's the one embarrassing moment that keeps coming back to haunt you? Not safe for work. Viewer discretion is advised. Please do like, share, and subscribe. I was starting out as a teacher in this English course, and one day I had a bad diarrhea in the short break between two classes. All of my colleagues were gathered in the teacher's room, waiting for the next class to start. I entered the bathroom connected to the room to relieve myself, and as I was finished, I was embarrassed of opening the door to the room and let everybody smell the reminiscent odor. So I had the brilliant idea of opening the glass window of the bathroom to let the wind circulate a little before opening the door. The window was stuck, and as I forced it, it fell, breaking in a million pieces on the floor. Everybody heard the noise and knocked on the door. I had to open it, and they not only smelled the horrible diarrhea, but also figured out my attempt to open the window to get rid of it, lol. It was so humiliating. My middle school did a program where a bunch of Japanese students came to visit our school for a couple weeks. I was assigned as a buddy to show someone around and stuff, and at the end of their visit here, they all took a trip to New York City. Only a few of the American students came along, but I was among them. The Japanese teachers wanted to be inclusive, so they took the mic that the bus driver used to make announcements and kind of like awkwardly interviewed each of us in broken English, though the students didn't seem all that interested. When it was my turn, I got the typical, "What do you like to do?" which I tried to shut down quickly with a simple, "Oh, I'm in choir. I like to sing sometimes." "Oh, okay. Why don't you sing for us?" And suddenly, the mic is in my hand. I really am not one for singing solos, especially in front of a bus full of students who probably don't know what the fuck is going on. I guess the teacher picked up on this, so she encouraged me to sing a Christmas song, because those are the only songs that the kids would be able to sing along to in English. So I'm thinking, okay, it won't be too bad if they all join in, right? So I start. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. Silence. I painfully sing the entire song, a cappella, completely solo, all eyes on me. Finally, the pain ends, and I crumble into my seat as awkward, polite applause ensues. But this wasn't enough for the teacher. She wanted this to be a participatory event, and she didn't care who had to suffer in order to make that happen. So what does she do? Okay, try again, but this time everyone sing along. I pray for it to be a dream, but somehow the mic is in my hand yet again, her expecting eyes upon me. At this point, all dignity is lost, so I figure, why not? Again, I start the song, and again, I sing it completely alone. Fuck my life. I was a hibachi server. We used these little bottles to squirt sake into people's mouths. I had a party of like 20 people. After the show and everything, the owner goes up to the table and asks them if they had a good time. One of the customers jokingly says, "I don't think we got enough sake." Owner then hands me 2 bottles and asks me to go back to the kitchen and fill them with sake. So I run back to the kitchen and see 2 boxes of Shochikubai sake. One of them has Sharpie writing in Chinese all over it. This will become important in a moment. So I randomly pick a box of sake to fill the squirt bottles with, and the manager and I ask them who wants more sake. Several people kind of cheer because they're hammered, so the owner starts rainbowing sake into one person's mouth while I do the same to another patron. Suddenly, the patron's eyes go wide just as I notice something strange. Under the harsh lighting, the liquid I'm squirting into this young woman's mouth is glistening. It also looks quite shiny running down her face and onto the front of her sundress. So I stop spraying sake at her, and she swallows and says, "Ugh, what the hell was that?" It was vegetable oil. The Chinese writing said vegetable oil. I do not read Chinese. TL, DR. Force-fed a birthday girl half a cup of vegetable oil instead of getting her drunk. Oops. My mom threw me a graduation party. She had the party in the community room of the local rescue squad and had a table full of food. No one came. Most of the people she invited were fellow graduates, so they had their own thing going on. We gave the food to the rescue squad people. I mostly felt horrible for my mom. Just writing this story made me feel like shit, and it's been 25 years since this happened. When I was in grade 8, we had to give a presentation on a Greek god. I chose to do my project on Zeus. However, I was nervous, and for some reason referred to him as Zezus, Jesus with a Z. The presentation was like 8 minutes long, and I said it wrong countless times. It wasn't until I finished the presentation as a kid asked, "You do know it's pronounced Zeus, right?" Once in middle school, I was invited to an indoor blow-up inflatable playground because I had completed the 1 million pages challenge. One of the blow-up inflatable stations was a Velcro wall where you put on a Velcro jumpsuit and then a bungee cord flings you back really fast. With my boyfriend at the time watching as I got hooked up, however, instead of swinging me up and backwards, it flung me down and back, causing me to land with my head between my legs upside down, the weight of my body on my neck, with my whole ass hanging out. I opened my eyes while I was still upside down, with my head still being between my legs, and saw his eyes wide with horror. He just walked away like he didn't know me, then broke up with me later that same day. I was at the airport one time, and during the security check-in, one of the TSA people stuck his hand out in front of me. I proceeded to give him a high five, thinking he's trying to be friendly, only to realize that he meant for me to wait in line. Feeling red-faced thinking about it right now. I was about 13, into shock humor and all that, just being inappropriate, and in trying to make a friend uncomfortable, said his mom had nice tits. He laughed it off. Months later, maybe a year or more, I visit his house with him to stay the night. He introduces me as the friend who said you have nice tits. Easily the worst first impression I've ever made, and she laughed about it and said thanks. But a lesson was learned, and I'm a better man for it. Freezing up in the middle of a best man speech, my brain just went completely blank. I had never had a problem with stage fright before, so it caught me off guard and made it worse. When I was in first grade, I had just recently moved to Oklahoma. My class was doing a showcase for the school assembly in 2 weeks. We were going to do some line dancing, and I was paired up with a boy I really liked for part of the routine. I practiced like a maniac in an attempt to assimilate to my new country classmates' way of life. I guess I had forgotten to give a note to my parents saying that they wanted us to wear cowboy boots for the performance. I showed up to the showcase in flip-flops. The partner section starts happening, and I'm kicking my legs like I'm a rocket. My flip-flop flies off into the crowd and hits an older kid in the face. I immediately stop in the middle, but the people behind me didn't get the memo. Then I launched a projectile into the crowd. The person behind me runs into me and falls into the crowd. This has a domino effect and causes a mini pileup of 7-year-olds. I hobble off the stage into the bathroom with only one flip-flop. I cried while I waited for my teacher to give me back my shoe. I was doing a stupid cleanse diet that involved drinking large amounts of psyllium husk powder. After 4 days without a bowel movement, I ended up fainting on the toilet while straining to squeeze out a huge log of shit. My younger brother heard me falling and hitting my head against the bathtub. He rushed in to find me passed out on the floor, naked, with shit smeared between my legs and all down the front of the toilet. This was years ago, and my brother and I can laugh at it now, but the memory still sneaks up on me at night when I'm trying to get to sleep. So I was interviewing for a job in the bio industry early on in my career, and it was a panel interview with about 10 people. They asked me what would set me apart from other candidates. So I went into the normal spiel about being a fast learner and easily cross-training in multiple areas. As soon as I said that, one of the guys laughed and a few jaws dropped, and I quickly realized that instead of saying cross-training, I said cross-dressing. What sets me apart from other candidates? Cross-dressing. I did not get the job. Went to the gym and felt the urge to poo, probably due to the pre-workout. Did my business, cleaned up, and proceeded to run my best mile ever on the treadmill. Noticed I was getting a lot of stares and shrugged it off until I noticed some toilet paper on the ground. That's weird, I thought. Turns out I had a bunch of toilet paper in my shorts the whole time. Needless to say, I moved to a different country and started a new life. Went to the urinal to take a piss before a C-level meeting and tried to squeeze out a fart and shit myself. I had to clean up in a stall and called in sick from the bathroom. I exited the building out a back fire exit. I was taking a bus home from the beach years ago. When I got close to my stop, I walked to the front of the bus so I'd be ready to get off. I was wearing a denim skirt that was a bit loose, but I had been wearing it all day without a problem. Well, the denim had gotten a little wet at the beach, which made it heavier, and it sort of stretched out a bit while I sat during this 2-hour bus ride. So, as I'm standing in the front of the crowded bus, with my hands full of my belongings, I can feel my skirt begin to slide down. I didn't have any hands free to grab it, and nothing to lean against to hold it up, so it fell all the way to the floor. The passengers around me just stared as if they were in shock. This was pre-everyone glued to their phone days. I stood there in my granny panties wanting to cry, but I started laughing like a maniac instead. I must have looked like a total nutjob. I stopped wearing skirts after that. Dresses are safer. One time, I went to a party and was smoking some weed with some friends. After a while, I'm really hungry, and I see what I thought was a large bowl of rock candy on the table. Thinking the party host was just some awesome rock candy providing individual, I decided to eat a piece. To my utter shock and disappointment, it was not rock candy, but it was some kind of crystal potpourri. That tasted like a chemical toilet. I threw up immediately all over the table and had to clean it up in front of a bunch of my friends and lots of people I didn't know. About 2 hours later, some girl is sitting on the couch and must have thought the same thing because she reaches out and grabs one and takes a bite before I could yell, "No!" She ran away crying, but didn't puke, lol. One time in college, I walked right out of a presentation I gave without taking questions. I genuinely forgot to ask or answer. When I was 13, I got my first bikini swimsuit. The top didn't have a strap on the neck or anything, but just stretched across my chest. I went swimming one day with my cousins while on vacation at my grandmother's house. I swam all day long, and the bikini stayed in place just as it should. We packed up, and I threw on a t-shirt over my swimsuit for the ride home. Grandma did not go swimming with us and was at home eating popcorn at her table when we came in. There were uncles, aunts, and older cousins at the table with her. When she saw me in my t-shirt, she jokingly said and asked if that was all I was wearing. I said nope, and proudly pulled my t-shirt over my entire chest to show her I had on a swimsuit. I watched as her face changed to shock as she choked on her popcorn. I looked down, and what do you know? My freaking top had slid beneath my boobs, exposing them and making them stick sort of straight out because the top was right under them. Everyone at the table just died laughing, all with red faces, putting their heads down and pounding the table, howling with laughter. So yeah, I flashed my grandma and some relatives with my boobs. So I was like 14 or 15 at a swim meet. I swam a lot, and one of the older guys, who was like the comical dude of the older kids, comes up to our tent, and I had my back turned. He says, "Hey, everyone, how's it going?" And I somewhat, but not clearly, jokingly say, "Oh, shut up." Then I turn to face him and realize I've just told my other teammate's father, a prominent judge in the city I lived in, to shut up. To make it worse, I apologized profusely, but didn't explain that I thought he was someone else. Haunts me to this day. Was a field computer tech when I was younger, at a client's site, focused on my work, when someone behind me says, "Hey there, how you doing today?" And without looking, I reply, "Well, alive and kicking, I suppose that's what matters." Then turn around to see a guy in a wheelchair with no legs, who smiles and says, "Yep, I guess that is important." I have multiple memories come back to me when I'm working out. Kinda ruins the workout, lol. The one memory that comes back to me the most is when I was in middle school. A group of girls that disliked me got a hold of my phone number and texted me as a crush. We texted all day after school, and she wanted to hang out with me, but I told her I can't because of homework or something dumb. So we planned that we hang out the next day, and we would meet at the park. The next day, I start to get ready, and I go to the park, and I waited for 3 hours, and she never showed up. I messaged her, and I wasn't getting a response, so I just ended up going home, disappointed and mad at myself. When I got back to school, the group of girls came up to me and said, "Have a nice date?" And I was shocked, wondering how they knew, and then they showed me pictures they took of me just sitting on the bench alone and making fun of how stupid I look. TL, DR, girls get a hold of my number and text me as my crush at the time. How naive I was as a kid. I was 16, casually taking a shower. My mom opened the door thinking there was no one. She screamed like she saw something scary. Turns out I'd forgotten to lock the door, and I was sitting on the floor giving my dolls a shower. I never did that. I just thought I should give my old dolls a shower on that very exact day. And that's the day I forgot to lock the door while I was taking a shower, for fuck's sake.